Shameful. I'm going to be suing Google and YouTube today. Gotta find a fucking digital lawyer that's gonna want to be so filthy rich they never even knew what happened. And then I'll probably just marry that lawyer because I wouldn't mind $500 million myself. Oh, trust me, I'm just gonna give away the money. I just want to see the look on everybody's face when I hand you $1 million. You know, it has nothing to do with keeping the money for myself. I'm not greed driven like all the old men in this world. If I could be in the same room as all the cash in this world, I would fucking light it on fire so fast. That's not the problem. The problem lies with the being able to print money, you see. I actually know things, and I've spoken with my best friends at CSIS that I get mocked at apparently a few times here and there. Fuck, wait till you meet my friends at CSIS. They don't like you. I was having a chat with a corrupt government official one time, and I mentioned something, and they got very nervous, but it had to do with the Canadian Mint. I was like, what the fuck is going on in my country? So I passed it on to people, and it sure as fuck turns out there's something going on. Thankfully, we'll get to the bottom of that. Now, in other news, we're over here getting it done. Did you know 47% of all U.S. citizens, 57% of U.S. households paid no federal tax in 2021? Did you know 61% of Americans paid no federal taxes in 2020? What's the percentage of U.S. taxpayers and those who pay no taxes? U.S. households that paid no income tax in 2022 by income level, in a total of 59.9% of U.S. households paid income tax in 2022. The remaining 40% of households paid no individual tax. Did you know that? Did you know that? Do you want to look at some of the groups of people that don't have to pay federal taxes? Who pays the bulk of taxes in Canada? Man, it was actually hard to find this. The elites are getting really good at suppressing information that could make you smarter. Unfortunately for them, I already knew this, so it's up to me to just properly word how to still barely find these proper posts. Here it is now. Who pays the bulk of taxes in Canada? The bottom 20% of families that earn less than 56,000 pay just 0.8% of the income taxes and 2.1% of the total taxes. The middle 60% income earners making 56 to 227,000 pay 40% of Canada's total income taxes and 45% of the nation's total taxes. So what they have managed to do is tax the living shit out of people that work harder than, I shouldn't say work harder, but they call it the middle, they used to call it the middle class. I'm not a fan of any of these terms, lower class, middle class, and upper class. It's been the way the government of Canada has worded, if they still don't to this very day, the people of Canada in three groups, whether you're less, medium, or the most, right? Does Amazon Canada pay taxes? So I don't believe what they're writing here. It says Amazon pays corporate tax on the profits from its business lines that operate in Canada. What is corporate tax? It's a reduced rate because they have such a high volume. They're like, oh, we'll just pay us 10% of what you actually take in, but they still charge us the taxes. So you're saying Amazon keeps the money for Canadians? Like, it's fucked. So let me look at this. Corporation income tax. File corporation income tax, find tax rates, and get information about provincial and territorial. So I have to put corporate tax Canada, and then I have to put the province of, well, no, fuck. It doesn't even make sense at that point. Wherever Amazon Canada is located, I don't know, in Ontario. The basic rate of Part 1 tax is 38% of your taxable income, 28% after federal tax abatement. After the general tax reduction, the net tax rate is 15% for Canadian-controlled private corporations claiming the small business deduction. The next tax rate is 9%. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you telling me that Amazon is barely paying, they're paying under 10% taxes? What is I'm pretty sure it's 30%. What is the percentage of taxes paid in Canada on $100,000? So I can give you an easy answer here. I'll use 100K. If you make $100,000 a year living in the region of Ontario, Canada, you will be taxed $30,000, $29,986. Average tax rate, 30%. And your marginal tax rate is 43%. That means your net pay will be $70,000 a year or $5,800 per month. Your average tax rate is $30,000. Well, let's see this here. I want to go to this. For Canadian-controlled private corporations claiming the small business deduction, the net tax rate is 9%. For Canadian-controlled private corporations claiming the small business deduction. So, like, I think there's something, because Amazon's really been pushing this business in Canada thing. Are they trying to say that they started enough small businesses under their huge corporation that they qualify for this 9% tax rate? But they're getting all the small businesses that are buying and selling on Amazon to pay 30% taxes? Well, the person who owns Amazon only pays 9%. Do you see the problems that are created by government here? The only one that's getting this done, the only one that could be fighting for the corporations is a lobbyist. Do you remember which area of, hopefully I didn't close that page. What was I Googling to come up with corruption? I defined corruption, didn't I? Listen to this. Corruption defined. Listen to where lobbying fits into corruption defined. Dishonest or fraudulent. It says something about lobbyists. Lobby. What is the exact definition of corruption? Corruption is a form of dishonesty or a criminal offense which is undertaken by a person or an organization which is entrusted in a position of authority in order to acquire illicit benefits or abuse of power for one's personal gain. Can you think of any world leaders doing that right now? I sure can. What are 3 types of corruption? I think this might be what I clicked on. Corruption can be defined and categorized in different ways. The most common types of categories of corruption are supply versus demand corruption, grand versus petty corruption, conventional versus unconventional corruption, and public versus private corruption. So there, the last one perfectly says it. Public versus private corruption. And this is where we shouldn't even have the word private sector. Needs to be erased, because all corruption comes out of private deals done by businesses who are corrupt. Period. Think about it. What are 5 forms of corruption? Commercial, bribery and kickbacks, extortion and solicitation, solicitation, is lobbying. I'll show you that in a minute. But just hang on. Gifts and hospitality, fees and commissions, collusion, which this whole country is colluding, from healthcare to police, trading of information, that is done on a daily in this country as well. Trading in influence, that is something that's horribly done in this country right now and in America is very well. Social media in America, influence through Hollywood, has corrupted the world. Trading in influence, embezzlement. So these are all great, but this doesn't get me the exact what I had before. What is a good word for corruption? Lobbying, bribery, crime, exploitation, extortion, fraud, maleficence, and nepotism. More items. Bribery, crime, exploitation, extortion, graft, fiddling, bribery, lobbying. And there's literally a form of government called lobbyists. There are lobbyists in government. It just screams corruption.
Corruption. Corruption. Corruption. Corruption.
Dishonest.
Fraudulent.
Dishonest.
Corrupt.
Unscrupulous.
Unethical.
Unprincipled.
Amoral as fuck.
Amoral.
Unprincipled.
It's interesting how unprincipled is in corruption. But when we're in school, who is the most important person in your school? What's their name? Let's define that term. And notice how government doesn't use principle worth a damn.
Principle.
A fundamental truth or proposition that serves as the foundation for a system of belief or behavior, or for a chain of reasoning. If you show me any sort of reasoning, rationale, in the last 2.5 years in our Canadian government, I'll suck your dick.
Principle.
0 principles here in Canada. And you know, I read today that the Liberals have been the major party in Canada for 70 years. That says a fuck of a lot about all the old people in this country, doesn't it?
Corruption. 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 Deceit. Fraud. Fake. 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 Hoax. Hoax. Hoax.
Play a trick on. Play a trick on.
Yeah, they did. Remember, everybody, if you love the videos that I make, you will never find anywhere else on the internet because there are people with backbones the size of mine. Spineless weasels exist. Spineless weasels exist all over social media. Do not be fooled by those with hundreds of thousands of likes, subscribers, and all this and that. Those ones are inflamed by Pepsi and Coca-Cola and energy drinks. Remember that. And if you can't, then stay stupid. See you next time.